Hey, what's up, guys? Edward here, back with another video. In this weekly outlook, I want to show you what I was expecting last week for a couple of pairs, what they did, and what I actually have for this week. I think I'm going to add probably this one at the top, GBP AUD. I'm going to start first with Forex, a few currency pairs that I see kind of they have the most attractive kind of direction, and I will jump after that on Nasdaq and S&P, and I will check also gold and crypto just to see what's going to happen this week. All right. So, by the way, if you're watching this for the first time, you're wondering how do I trade, what's my style, and all that stuff, I recommend you checking my website, teamprofitsenglish.com. I'm running right now a one-time payment full time. This is a one time mentorship program. So if you want to be part of my team, you want to see me trade live pretty much every day, you can join, and it's a one time payment. No hidden fees or anything. You're part of my team forever. All right. Plus, you're also, of course, getting my course. Everything is based on SMC and ICT concepts. Okay. So let's get started. Starting on DXY right here, of course, from the higher time frame. What we're seeing here, I'm gonna start on the weekly, right? Notice that last week I actually marked up this from the high to the low from this recent actual impulse, and we corrected. We actually did correct. However, let's understand this. Notice how this past week closed, right? This little pin bar when the price created that low, that candle right there was telling us that we're probably having a reversal. Okay. Now this candle, this weekly candle, notice how we closed entirely right above this previous high. So it's telling me that we're probably going to continue going higher. So, like for the DXY, it looks like we're going to be bullish this week. It looks a bit more bullish than we are bearish. If we go on the daily, right, this is what I was marking up last week, right? Probably press to push up here and go to OTE and then crash, right? We are in OTE. We're actually at the moment we are standing right here. But notice how it starts to look a little different, right? The weekly is telling me that we're probably more bullish, right, based on how we closed. But when we go on the daily, notice that we spend the last 3 days of the week kind of choppy. See, slow down, right? It was a big push, but then 3 days right here started just one day down, one day up, another day down. So you see, it started to chop around. Let me delete here. So what do we have? What is it that price is doing? Notice this. Let me remove the Fibonacci for a second. Of course, that's the weekly high. Notice that candle. That candle, that pin bar right there, is telling me because it failed. Right. This is on Friday. So the candle from Friday failed to close below the Thursday candle. Right. It was at some point it was strongly bearish, but then retraced all the way back up. Right, and close above. So the body of the candle closed above this low. Right. So that weak rejection is telling me that we're probably going to expand higher, right? Okay. And it's probably aligning with the weekly, right? Because the weekly is telling me that we're probably going to go bullish. Let me mark up this weekly high, right? Let's go back to the daily. That right there. So now on the daily, expecting price to expand. Let's go 4 hour right here. Notice what is happening. We had that manipulation, right? Sell side liquidity. Now we still don't have on a 4 hour time frame. We still don't have a change in state of delivery, right? On a 4 hour that we can say, okay, well, I can buy right away. I don't have it. I don't have it yet, so it means I have to wait. Let's go 1 hour. Probably on the 1 hour. It's a look at this. We had a ton of news, by the way, this week. Let's go ahead and check the actual fundamentals for for this week. Hang on. So from the 21st to the 25th, where we don't have news on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, only high impact news. We have unemployment claims on Thursday at 8:30, and then 9:45 we have the next one. So the first 3 days of the week we have no news. It's going to be kind of slow. Now, those who, because if you want to trade currency pairs, if you're going to be paying attention to currency pairs, you might want to probably include Europe or GBP CAD in there. If you add this, you see now there's a lot of red folder news in Europe as well on Thursday. On GBP, we have on Tuesday, we have this report. And look at this. Jerome Powell is actually speaking on Tuesday, but you see it's an orange folder. So no, not big of a deal, at 8:30. Okay. This may affect a little bit. I want to see. I normally don't read at the orange candles. The orange folders. Just pay attention to the red ones. But let's see what that is going to be affecting, right? But especially Thursday. Thursday is going to be full of news in Europe and Great Britain and Canada and of course the US. So Thursday, I think, is going to be the hardest day to be trading. That's a lot of fundamentals. So anyways, going back here, DXY, I'm definitely expecting this. What I'm expecting is probably price to expand to the weekly. This can be our draw on liquidity for this week on the DXY. So let's see. Right? Let's go on GBP AUD. Notice this. What it recently did, I actually like what it did here. Notice this kind of range. Take a look at this. We just swept an important liquidity on the weekly, right? On the weekly time frame. Do you see that candle? That's a beautiful potential candle. It shows a reversal, right? Look at all this relative equal high, this very strong support here, resistance, I'm sorry. That is a beautiful draw on liquidity. Eventually price will come like this is a lot of liquidity here. So I love this candle, right? This candle right here is telling me my bias for this week already in this pair, right? Seriously. Right here, we failed to close below that low. We retrace back up, even close bullish. So I'm expecting price to go above here or just run through those highs. I'm definitely waiting for an expansion this week to the upside. It is a GBP pair. So remember, fundamentals, probably on Thursday, especially Thursday, maybe we're going to be a little choppy at the beginning of the week, but then we can get a big move to the upside. Let's see if that's what's going to happen. We're going to review this next weekend, by the way, right? So let's go on the daily. Go on the daily. We don't have much. However, we can see here that low, and we see that we broke this fair value gap. So this, we can use this as an inversion right there. This is how it looks on the daily. It looks like we're still kind of respecting this daily fair value gap right here. However, the higher time frame is telling me the opposite. So I want to see what's going to happen there. Let's go to 4 hour and see what we got. Notice that when we go lower time frame, look at the shift in the structure. This is gorgeous right here. You see this power of 3? Beautiful power of 3. You got accumulation, manipulation right here. Notice this distribution. This is gorgeous right here on the 4 hour. Beautiful right here. Changing the state. That's a nice unicorn. What's a unicorn? If you're watching this for the first time, there's a fair value gap on top of a breaker. Right? This breaker right here, this little candle. If you want to mark it up entirely, that entire breaker right there. Price pull back. respected that, and boom. So if you wanted to enter here, you could have entered. You could have entered anywhere, probably in that breaker. The stop, you can place the stop loss below this lows, below the low of the breaker, or go safer below that low. That's normally the low of the manipulation. So where do we target? I want to target those highs. All right. I'm gonna leave this thing here as an example, and when I come back next week, next Sunday, I will we'll see where price is gonna go, right? But what I'm expecting expansion. I'm expecting price to expand towards those highs right there. That's my bias for GBP AUD. All right. So let's save that, and we'll come back next week. All right. And if you want to follow this, make sure to watch. And if you get a setup within this area as well, you can go long. Now let's take a look at Euro USD. What is Euro USD doing at the moment? How did we close last week? It was pushing up. It looks like it's pushing up real nice right here. Recently broke a high, broke a structure to the upside. We had a bullish. What is this? Do we have a fair value gap? No, here. We had one here, and it looks like we're trying to close lower, right? Notice the body of the candle, how we close, right? So it's telling me that we're probably going to continue expanding. So it's looking bearish, and it's all right if you understand why it's looking bearish. Well, the DXY is looking bullish. Remember, when DXY goes up, Euro USD goes the opposite, right? Goes down. So it's trying to go lower right now. So weekly low, I'm gonna mark it up here. Weekly low. That's the direction. Right there on the weekly, right? For Euro USD. So I'm expecting price to continue moving lower. Probably, I don't know if we're gonna go for this low right here, but for sure headed to this low. Notice on the daily, right? On the daily, it doesn't look nice. It looks like very, very choppy, lots of weak rejections. There's a lot of gaps right here. So it's looking quite nasty. It's probably because of the news as well we had, right? This week we had very, very high impact news this past week. So based on the higher time frame, how the weekly close and DXY, right? I'm expecting price to move lower. So let's see if we do get candle closing below here. We probably have a change in the state of delivery to the downside for our 1 hour. Is looking like this. The structure is not my favorite one right now, to be honest, to play with. But since the weekly time frame is telling me we're bearish, so I want to try probably to look for sales here. A 1 hour is looking a little weird. I want to see what's going to happen with this fair value gap here. If we respect that. So expecting probably, a much better structure here eventually, displacing towards the weekly low. So that's my bias for Euro USD. I'm a bit more bearish for this week. GBP USD, again, similar, very similar. GBP USD in comparison to Euro USD, you see they're kind of similar right now, and they go the opposite as the DXY, right? So let's go on the weekly and see how the weekly candle close. Look at that. You see how we're closing right now. We did sweep this low, barely. Now look at this. Let me clean this for a moment. I understand we are tapping. We're still entering this fair value gap one more time. We had one beautiful imbalance here as well. Right? We were rejected it, but based on notice how past week closed, right? We're expecting continuation. Yeah, it did continue. So this week also continue displacing lower. So it is very bearish, strongly bearish right now. right? And it all started right here. That candle was predicting a move to the downside. That candle right there, failure to close above, right? And closing bearish is telling me that we're going to continue going lower. And we've been like that for 3 weeks now. So GBP USD has been dropping for 3 weeks, very strong. And we already swept this low. We can say that we're entering here. I want to say probably a lot of people will try to buy, but I'll be careful. I'll be careful because it looks bearish. It definitely looks bearish. And that, again, that weekly low, I'm going to mark it up. I think we're gonna go for that weekly low. Price is going to try to go for that weekly low. Notice again, kind of choppy on the daily. But you see, now we're having this is a last move, changing the state. So I'm definitely expecting price to go right there, to go this way, that weekly low. So I'm bearish at least until that point. After that, I don't know. I mean, if we do sweep this and we have a formation, something like this, we could probably try to go long right there. But until then, really don't know what could happen. We could still continue crashing, right? But I'm expecting definitely those weekly lows right there, right? For GBP USD. So bearish as well, GBP USD. GBP JPY. Look at this. This is what I sent last week. I was expecting the price expanding towards the upside. We did hit the target. It got a little nasty. Went down again to manipulate this low, but then push, finally taking this liquidity right here. So got a little nasty, I want to say, because of the news. But you see that it was predictable and we were able to understand the direction, right? Now, where is price going to go? Now, this is a little tricky right now, right? It is a bullish candle, right? We sweep here. And now this one, notice that we fail, right? It is still a bullish candle, though, right? But we're failing to close above. That means it lost force. It was more at the last moment. There was a lot of selling pressure. So, however, this type of candle is not my favorite one to follow, right? I want to say I'm bullish. I'm a bit more bullish because it is a bullish candle, right, on the weekly. But I don't know. Don't know. We could reverse. However, notice on the daily, right? We did hold this daily fair value gap, and what happened is that we took that liquidity from the high, right? So that means that after that liquidity, price could shift now to the downside, right? But because it's been pretty bullish right here, right? The market has been pretty bullish on the daily, on the weekly, I mean, as well, past few weeks, past couple months, 3 months so far. Notice how it's looking already this month of July. So about 10 days for this month to be over, but it's looking pretty bullish. So let's see what's going to happen. I want to say I'm still a bit more bullish. This pair, it's very, very tricky. Best hours to trade GBP JPY is definitely London, not New York. It's kind of can get kind of nasty during New York. Anyways, let's go on USD JPY. Look at this, how we close, right? We ended up expanding pretty strong. I think last week as well, I was telling you guys that I was expecting price to continue going, running through those highs. So we did run through those highs, right? Based on how we close on the week, let's clean this now. Based on how we close, look, strongly bullish, right? So we're expecting price to continue. On the daily, notice we swept. This is on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So it looks like we are going to be expanding. These highs are probably going to be taken maybe on Monday. Look at this. This is news right here, right? Price takes the low right here, and we try to expand. Notice the price respected this lows at fair value gap. If we go lower time frame here, it's accumulation. Price takes the lows, manipulates, and then it started expanding. This was on Friday. Got a little choppy right here, but then it started pushing after 10 a.m. Started displacing higher. So we're gonna go. I'm sure we're definitely headed to those highs right there. That's where price is gonna go. After that, of course, we'll have to see. Look out for another formation, but looking for that push on USD JPY for this week. Definitely expanding, right? So fair value gap right here on this 1 hour time frame. Probably it's going to be pulling back, tapping it, continue. Maybe giving an opportunity there to enter. By the way, I'm going to place an alert here. But yeah, I think that's what's going to happen. Let's go now. Jumping to my favorite pairs to be trading, which is indices, Nasdaq, and S&P. This week, I'm not gonna lie, I those who've been following me here for a long time, you guys know I mainly trade Nasdaq. Mainly trade Nasdaq. From time to time, I take a shot on S&P 500, probably gold from time to time, but my main uh, indices or pairs, if you want to call it like that, are is Nasdaq is the main one, right? So this week it started good, but then started acting very nasty. So this past 2 weeks with all this volatility about again this trade war started again with Donald Trump and the tariffs and all that stuff. It got very very nasty, very nice. I remember this day right here on Tuesday. After price swept here, I was expecting price to go all to those lows right there, right? Price try to push and retrace all the way back down. So I was bearish. I was strongly bearish. But we did drop. We ended up dropping, but retrace all the way back up, and actually closed bullish. And that totally went nuts. Like that went against me, of course, my mindset right there was like, what the fuck is going on? What the hell is going on? Um, Reason again, news. It was a lot of uncertainty with these tariffs, and it caused a lot of nasty movements. So I'm just going to show you here what my week was, how my week was right here. I started good, but then closing the week, bam, pretty bad, right? Last week as well, see a lot of positions, too many entries, and giving it pretty much all back. It started good. I had days where I actually won $500, right, in one single trade, but then ended up giving it almost all back. But that's what it is, anyways. That's the conditions. Conditions of the market changes all the time, right? You can see here that my weeks are very different, right? And the winning rate also changes a lot. Every week is different. So I cannot tell you that my winning rate, it's all the time 66% or 50%. No, it changes a lot. One thing for sure is that I don't care about the winning rate. It's not my fear or my concern. My concern is to manage, right, my risk. So I focus on proper risk management. The win rate really don't matter. I have weeks where you see I had a 27% win rate this week right here, and I was still able to close in profits. How the hell does that happen? Well, because I understand and I know how to use my risk management. My risk management. I know when to close the position early, right? When I'm wrong, right? Because I know I'm not going to be right all the time. And I still make mistakes, you know. I'm not perfect. I'm not considering myself a perfect trader. I make a lot of mistakes. But hey, you see that I really, you should not focus on the win rate. There's a lot of people trying to focus in, oh my God, I need to look for this strategy or this holy grail strategy that can give me an 80% win rate. That's not going to happen. Not even with indicators, you're going to get that. Okay. So don't get false expectations when it comes to that. So anyways, um, what do I see for on the daily time frame? On the weekly, we close strongly bullish. So probably on the weekly, we're still going to continue bullish. However, on the daily, I'm expecting a little pullback, right? Why? Because notice that we failed to close above that high. This is Friday. So I'm expecting price to displace lower, probably to go to that low, or in consequence, of course, enter this bullish fair value gap. And then from there, it can probably react. So I want to see if price is going to come here, tap, and then maybe go, right? Or, I mean, we have a lot of liquidity hanging right here. I don't know, something really bad could happen this week, fundamentally speaking, and price could try to come back lower, right? To take this low. It's a very strong support. You can see that it's a support. So retail traders, a lot of retail traders got into buys right here. So this is a nice zone of liquidity pretty much, right? Bunch of stop losses are there. And the algorithm knows that, right? So let's go lower time frame. If you see in lower time frame what happened, you can actually see the price manipulated the highs. This is where it got very nasty. I hated this day right here. I even entered on S&P on Friday, and I ended up closing the position because I did not trust. So price manipulated the highs, changed the state right here on the 5 minute. Look at how nasty it was getting right here. It did not do a quick move and then boom, quick drop. No, it is struggled a lot here. And look at S&P. This was my position on S&P. It hurts to see this. It really hurts because I closed the position. One thing, and this is probably a mistake of mine, but I mean, every trader has its own things, is I used to have a little bit more patience. My patience right now, uh, it is very short. It is turning very short. So I hate being stuck in a consolidation. As soon as I entered, right here, press to start playing around for like 20 minutes, 30 minutes, not going anywhere right here, right? And that really gets me. Since I'm a scalper, right? I normally try to, hey, either get stopped out really quick or hit my TP really quick, right? I'm not I'm not trying to hold a position for a day or two, although sometimes I kind of do that. Sometimes when I'm willing to do a little swing trade, but most of the times I scalp and I want to get in and out really quick. So whenever I take a position and the price immediately starts being choppy, chop, 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 my patience runs out. And like most of the times that tells me that I'm wrong and the price will probably manipulate me, right? It will do a nasty move and then it will go my direction later. So when I see that, most of the times right now, I try to hold myself, or I try to probably get out of my computer, step out of my computer, don't even watch it, right? And just accept it. But most of the times I'm watching, and when price comes back at me again to the zone, like trying to stop close to the stop loss, I'm fucking closing the position. I'm closing it. So when I close, boom, price just decides to actually go the direction and start displacing quicker. So it's a mistake. It's an issue, or whatever you want to call it right here. I'm actually satisfied because the trade did end up playing out. I understand my stop loss was never hit, so that's good. However, I closed the position because I did not trust, and that's what happens when price gets choppy like that. I lose trust, and I tell you, This 2 weeks, this past 2 weeks, it's been like this. It's been quite like challenging that you have to be trusting more. And whenever you trust, price actually will just stop you and then will go your direction. And it gets very nasty. The conditions are very choppy. Like it's meant to be like this, you know, to mess up with everybody. So that's what it is, you know. At least I understand that I am not over risking. I'm not trying to blow my account. You know, sometimes I do probably over trade, took a couple more trades than I shouldn't, but I'm not risking too much. I'm not trying to blow my account. That's the point. So anyways, what's my direction for Nasdaq this week? I think it's going to be a little bit more bearish. I see the price building this fair value gap. I'll hold it a little bit. I have liquidity here that probably is going to be taken maybe once the market opens. Maybe I want to see something like this for tomorrow. I want to see price go like that. I want to see something like that. And from here, I could probably be looking to buy, right? But again, that will depend. The same with S&P 500. Since notice that Nasdaq swept the high, we formed divergence at the top here, and S&P failed to take the high. That's why I decided to go on S&P. Yeah, but anyways, on both, my direction is bearish until this lows gets taken and price enter this daily fair value gap. Once we enter here, I'm probably going to switch to bullish. I want to see if we can target now record highs again. So yeah, that's what I have for indices. When it comes to gold, right quick here, notice that it's been moving sideways, right? After pushing for like what, since we got out of this range, we started pumping up for 356 days, right? We are now stuck in a range, and it makes sense, right? After being so overbought. So let's go lower time frame. Probably for scalping gold, we are in the middle of this range from the 3400 to the 3300. We're currently moving sideways. So what did we do recently here? We pushed up with news, we swept that and it came back down. So taking lows. So you see, it's a little choppy. It doesn't have a clear direction. So probably higher time frame will not be doing anything. What we can do on gold is target recent swing points. Recent lows. Either this low. Let's see. This is relative. This is a nice liquidity point as well. This is relative equal lows. I like that zone as a target. And then yeah, we can also pay attention to this recent highs right there, right? But it's kind of ranging. Difficult to say where it's going to go again because we are in a range. So gold, not my favorite one right now. What I would do is wait for those specific points. Like if it does drop and you get a change in the state, you can target again those highs, back into the range. You can try that. Okay. Not my favorite one to trade right now. When it comes to Bitcoin, so Bitcoin created history again, record highs, 123K, and it had a little nice formation here on the 1 hour, but then all of a sudden started showing momentum back to the downside. So it's showing resistance on the 120. So I was thinking price would go again for the record highs, but it's not ready to do it yet. So we might actually drop 7 hours for this weekly candle to close, right? 7 hours. Notice how we're closing. That's a rejection. That's a rejection candle, right? Failure to close above, it's rejecting. So what do I think price can go? Well, we have created a huge, gigantic, bullish fair value gap. We may chop around a little bit. Notice where we're rejecting, right? At the record 120, the psychological level. So notice that those levels, those psychological, every $10,000, it's a nice support and resistance, right? So every 10K, nice target and nice support, okay? To either secure profits, take profits, or re-entry, depending on where you are. So at this point, don't be surprised if we pull back to 110. That's a nice support, and it's a good zone to be buying. Like if price comes back here, shows some sort of force like support, we can go back to 120. So this is a good zone to be buying again for sure. Again, 7 hours for that candle to close. If we do close like that, that's telling me that we're probably gonna go lower, and we may go for this lows. You may try to enter that fair value gap on the weekly, right? On the daily, it's a little choppy. Definitely, it's looking sideways. It's all right. Right here, so it's building liquidity. So probably it's gonna go for this lows, probably. All right. So, anyways, hope it makes sense, guys. Again, if you want to be part of my team, you want to see me trade live, I go on Discord or Zoom pretty much every Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursday. I trade live ICT comp sets with my team on Nasdaq. I scalp. So if you want to be part of my team, just make sure to check out my website, teamprofitsfx.com. Join now. Let me know if you're interested in the comments as well. Thumbs up if you like this type of content, and I'll see you next week. Take it easy.